All right, so we're recording on Zoom. Okay, and Elizabeth can hear me as well. So again, Anna from Nigeria, and we got Tanya from Lockdown Central in Central and Victoria, Australia, and hey, Valerie from she's in Chicago. Elizabeth from Georgia, and then we got Joan in Mexico, and then Sandra, managed isolation, New Zealand, and then Tina in Texas, Houston, Texas, Peggy from Los Angeles. All right, and Carolyn, Salt Lake City. And and then we got, all right, Carmela from the Philippines, and Nellie from Auckland, New Zealand, and Stephanie from Singapore. I'll do this view here. And then, let's see, Elizabeth. Hey, Elizabeth from Los Angeles. Another one from Los Angeles, California. Francis from Northern California. All right, and hey, some familiar faces. Hey, Laura. All right, yeah, Laura was in one of our past challenges, and yeah, actually probably a number of you, because we had a 5-day free challenge, but we also had some longer challenges previously. So let me just double check with Facebook that everything is good to go there. All right, on Facebook, we got Daryl from Australia dealing with Graves' disease. All right, so so yeah, we got a good crowd so far, 27 on the Facebook group, and then Zoom, we have, what do we got, 36 it looks like. All right, very good, very good, very good. So let me, just one other thing, I need to just bring up my little slideshow here. Okay, so this is going to be a brief presentation, and I actually did this, as I said in the email that I sent out. I already did this presentation. It was just Facebook, on my Facebook page, and streamed to my group, and was using streaming software, StreamYard, which I'm fairly new to, but I've used it a few times, but it was just kept on going in and out. So I figured I'd do another one of these, and this time I figured I would use Zoom. This way those who are not on Facebook could participate, but I would just stream to Facebook anyway. So both Facebook and Zoom. But again, it's going to be probably like 10-15 minutes. The goal is not to give like a 45-minute presentation, but just 10-15 minutes, and then really just open it up for Q&A. Just maybe go like 10-15 minutes, 45 minutes or so for Q&A, and yeah, and we'll call it a night. And if all goes well, which I'm sure it will. I've done a number of these, but yeah, so you could expect some more in the future. All right, so let's go ahead and get rolling here. All right, so how much sleep do you need? All right, so true or false? Everyone needs 8 hours of quality sleep on a daily basis. So yeah, so everyone is different. So that is the truth, that not everybody needs exactly 8 hours of quality sleep on a daily basis. And so I would aim for most people, I would say at least 7-8 hours of sleep on a regular basis. If you get less than that on a temporary basis, probably not a big deal. When I had my 5-day challenge, I was surviving on 5-6 hours sleep for that week, which is unusual. But yeah, if you're doing that every single night continuously, eventually it'll catch up. And some people, especially people who might be attending this call, might need more. Those who are recovering. I know some people might not be in a position to get more than 7-8 hours sleep, but when someone's in a healthier state, arguably you don't want to get too much sleep. There is some, I've been to a few conferences, nutritional conferences, where a few of the presenters was talking in the research, talking about how too much sleep could be detrimental. Again, if you're in a healthy state where getting like 10, 11, 12 hours sleep. And that yeah, so that's what this next question is. So can you catch up on sleep? So again, I gave the example when I was 5, 6 hours during the 5-day challenge. So, if it's short term, yeah, sure, you could, kind of catch up. But, if that's their regular pattern, if they're working Monday through Friday, and then so Sunday night through Thursday night, they're getting 5 hours sleep. And then on the weekends, they're getting 10, 11, 12 hours sleep. So, if you keep on doing that, you're not really catching up that way. You really want to try to consistently get, that 7, 8 hours every night. So why do some people have sleep issues? So diet is huge. Too many refined foods and sugars lead to blood sugar imbalances, acute and chronic stress, adrenal imbalances, and especially high cortisol, but even low cortisol can cause a compensation. And, again, I've seen both people with low, high cortisol, but more so with the cortisol, high cortisol, and poor habits before going to sleep. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So right here, spending too much time on electronics, room not completely dark. So again, some basics, especially that last one. But a lot of people just sleep with electronics on. I mean, hopefully not like, TV, the entire TV on, but, even like little lights in your bedroom for some people can make a difference. Infections. So some things we don't think about. So, having stealth infections such as Lyme or, sometimes viruses, even a gut infection, but gut infection probably more, like if someone's experiencing discomfort, maybe due to the gut infection in the evening. But, some people, even if they're not experiencing discomfort, they might have parasites and might cause some sleep issues, but that's an overlooked cause. Neurotransmitter imbalances such as serotonin, GABA, and then last but not least, hyperthyroidism. So I was thinking about putting this on top of the list just because this is being presented to people who have thyroid and autoimmune thyroid conditions, but I realize not everybody has hyperthyroidism who's participating. We just had actually in the Zoom chat someone saying that they're a Hashimoto's warrior. So I figured I'd include this, but towards the bottom. But if someone has hyperthyroidism, if you have elevated thyroid hormone levels, that could definitely prevent you from sleeping. And you want to do things to lower that. Obviously, you want to try to address the cause of the problem, but you might need to take either anti-thyroid medication such as methimazole or anti-thyroid herbs like bugleweed while trying to address the cause of the problem. All right, so how to improve sleep quality and duration. All right, so again, diet is huge. Eat whole, healthy foods, minimize carbohydrate and sugar intake. Improve stress handling, blocking out time for stress. And what I tell my patients is, and I mean, just not just patients, but just in general, when sometimes writing articles articles, blog posts, start with 5 minutes. I mean, if you're doing 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, that's great, but it's better to do it. I find it's better to do it every day than a few days per week. It's not like exercise, even though, you could exercise, of course, every day if you want to as well. But, with stress handling, you want that routine of stress. So 5 minutes, most people could do 5 minutes per day. So if I were to say do 15, 20 minutes per day, let alone 30 minutes a day, a lot of people wouldn't block out that time. And a lot of people won't block out the 5 minutes either. But again, 5 minutes is doable. And once you get in the routine of blocking out stress on a daily basis for 5 minutes a day, then of course you could gradually increase to 10 minutes and 15 minutes per day. But what a lot of people do is they'll block out, maybe they'll, not so much now with everything going on, but in the, before the, COVID situation, yoga studios, even though some of them might be open now, but gyms just recently opened here after being closed since March. But anyway, so a lot of people will do yoga, let's say 3 days a week or 2 days a week, but they won't do anything the rest of the week when it comes to stress management. So you could, of course, continue doing that, and maybe now you're doing that online, or maybe you are going to a yoga studio. But either way, if you do yoga, if you only want to do yoga 2-3 days per week, then you could do something else the other days. And I'm just, of course, giving yoga as an example. So again, practice mind-body medicine, maybe before going to bed. That's what I do. I use a type of biofeedback called heart math before going to bed. But and here's some yoga meditation, again, biofeedback. There's Tai Chi. And of course, you could do it at other times. Some people prefer doing it in the morning. But if you're having problems falling asleep or even staying asleep, and if you haven't been practicing mind-body medicine at night, might be something to consider. And again, address adrenal imbalances. And as far as how to address adrenal imbalances, so the basics are important. Diet, stress handling, important. Sleep is important. It's a catch-22 because you need to get sufficient sleep to have healthy adrenals. So sometimes you do need to take something to help with the adrenal imbalances. So like when I was dealing with Graves, my adrenals were actually low. So I mentioned how high cortisol could cause a problem. And I didn't really have sleep issues, but, if someone has, in my case, I took licorice root, which you want to be cautious if you have high blood pressure, for example. Just things to support, like nutrients to support adrenals, such as B vitamins, vitamin C, adaptogenic herbs. I took an herb called eleuthero, which is also known as Siberian ginseng. Someone has elevated cortisol levels, just calming agents such as phosphatidylserine, relora, ashwagandha, which is also a member of the nightshade family. So if someone's following, let's say, autoimmune paleo and they're trying to avoid nightshades, they might not want to take ashwagandha. Although I will say I've had a lot of patients over the years take it without a problem. But again, everybody is different. Again, make sure your room is completely dark and minimize time on electronics before bedtime. Maybe it's not the reason why you're having problems falling asleep, but if you're in a habit of going on your iPhone, let's say, right before bed, or, your computer right before going to bed, then, at least an hour before, take a break and see if that helps. And again, one night might not make a big difference. You might have to do it continuously for, a few days, maybe even a few weeks. And address hyperthyroidism as well. If someone has hyperthyroidism, you need to do things to lower the thyroid hormone levels. And one thing I don't, let's see, do I have another? Okay, so before we get to, so unplugging Wi-Fi too, like EMFs, as well as electromagnetic fields. So again, for some people, that's not going to make a difference, but it's easy enough just to I was going to say turn off Wi-Fi. Like my Wi-Fi doesn't have a switch, so we have to unplug it. You could also have a timer at night that just like turns off, let's say at 10 o'clock, and then turns back on at whatever time, 6 in the morning. So again, just if, I'm sure some of you have tried these already, but if you haven't tried these, I mean, sleep, sometimes it is challenging. So, but yeah, so anyway, let's talk about conventional versus natural sleep agents, because sometimes we do need to rely on these short term. They're not a permanent solution. So definitely drugs, you don't want to rely on drugs on a long-term basis. But again, everything does come down to risk versus benefits. If someone's getting 2 hours sleep, and again, we're going to talk about some natural sleep agents, and they might want to try, first, again, the diet and lifestyle, definitely incorporate that. But if someone has tried diet and lifestyle, I mean, the thing is with sleep, a lot of times it becomes, I mean, a few things. One, it becomes psychological when and I've been there too. I haven't been as bad as some people I've worked with, but I've gone, there's been times, overall, I've slept pretty well most of my life, but there's been times where I've gotten into the pattern of not getting enough sleep and having problems, more so like waking up in the middle of the night, and just knowing that when I wake up, that I've had problems going back to sleep. So again, it becomes psychological that you're thinking about it. So that's, that could, you have to, and then also you got to break that cycle. So that's why sometimes you do need to take, either natural agents or sometimes, unfortunately, the medication, just to get back in that cycle of sleeping. And then once you're, and then in a way, kind of catching up on sleep. Like I said earlier, if you're getting like 2 hours sleep for a few weeks, few months, a few nights sleep. It'll help, but that's not going to catch up for like a few weeks, few months sleep, but it's still, heading in the right direction. So let's talk a little bit about nutritional supplements and herbs. So again, melatonin, one of the more common natural agents taken. So that's, of course, a hormone that's produced by the pineal glands. And, what melatonin, it could work if if you have a melatonin deficiency, then it could work. If not, then it probably is not going to help. Think about melatonin. A lot of people will take 3 to 5 milligrams because that's typically what's available online or in health food stores. But some people do better with lower doses, like 1 milligram, for example. Again, not to say if you've been taking 3 to 5 milligrams of melatonin and it hasn't been helping, 1 milligram might not be the solution, but it's, again, you might be taking too much. So just something to consider. And again, something you don't want to necessarily have to take long term. And electronics, I mentioned electronic pollution, things like, just the room not completely dark, just being on, again, electronics right before going to bed. Those are things that could deplete melatonin. Magnesium. So sometimes, magnesium deficiency, which is common, that could cause problems going to sleep. So sometimes taking magnesium and a good example of how everybody is different. A number of years ago, this was probably maybe 7 years ago or something, I had a patient who was taking magnesium, and the magnesium was actually keeping her up. She was until she stopped taking the magnesium. So that's not a common situation, but it's usually the opposite, where magnesium helps with sleep. And then valerian root, an herb that sometimes can help. We got L-theanine and GABA. So GABA, so that's a neurotransmitter, and there's something, some of you might have heard of Dr. Datis Kharrazian, D as D-A-T-I-S, and last name, I think I'm pretty sure it's Kharrazian. And so he's actually written a book on Hashimoto's. It's from 2011, but a lot of the information is still relevant. But then he also has a brain book, which is amazing. So that's just a few years old. It's a very thick book, like 600 plus pages. Actually, some of you might have my book, Hashimoto's Triggers, which is also 500 plus pages. And when I was thinking about, should I have something that long, and I was hesitant, I looked at his book, and I'm like, well, he has a book that's larger than than my book before it came out. So, so I was like, yeah. So, but anyway, so really good book. And he talks about the GABA challenge. So GABA, in order to cross the blood-brain barrier, it needs a phenyl group attached. So if so there's certain types of GABA you could purchase that has the phenyl group attached. So Dr. Kharrazian talks about the GABA challenge. If you take just a regular GABA supplement that doesn't have the phenyl group attached, and if you get any type of, let's say if it makes you feel more sleepy, or even the opposite, more energetic, then that probably means you have a compromised blood-brain barrier. It's passing the, so it's, so that's what's called the GABA challenge. I think he uses 1,000 milligrams of GABA, but you could always do a search engine search, just type in maybe just GABA challenge alone. If not, maybe Datis Kharrazian GABA challenge, and then 5-HTP, which is a precursor to serotonin. All right, so CBD oil, of course, is pretty popular these days. And yeah, in some cases, CBD oil can help, just like anything. The quality is important, just because it seems like every place is now selling CBD oil, and you just, with anything, you never know what you're going to get. But for some people, that can make a big difference. Also has anti-inflammatory properties, so it could have other benefits in some people with Graves and Hashimoto's. Essential oils such as lavender also could be a benefit. All right, I think this is the last slide here. So other factors to consider. So again, inflammation. So I just mentioned CBD oil, but really when it comes to reducing inflammation, you could take natural and anti-inflammatory agents, but you want to, of course, reduce any external, anything outside, whether it's food, infection. You want to address the cause of the inflammation, not just I mean, sometimes, I mean, I do recommend supplements, but you sometimes need to do other things as well. Avoid caffeine, alcohol, nicotine, of course, if you're having problems sleeping. Hopefully you're doing this. Again, reduce electronic pollution, especially in the bedroom. But like I said, even before going to bed, if you're, like right now I'm at home and I'm not in the bedroom, I'm in my home office here, but still, it's, so, ideally I would want to, stop, not that I'm having sleep issues, but still everybody, even if you're not having sleep issues, and I can't say I always do that. I'm guilty too of being on electronics later than I should be. And, again, unplug the Wi-Fi at night, I mentioned, and again, mattress is comfortable, seems like common sense, but some people, it might be an issue with their bed. So you might need to get a mattress. And then, I'm going to preach, of course, trying to get a, more natural or organic mattress. We have an avocado mattress, but there's others. Naturepedic is actually a really good one. Put an air purification system in your bedroom. So we have a few blue air filters in our home, and then I have one in the office. IQ Air is also very good. Take a hot bath 1 or 2 hours before bedtime. Okay, adjust the temperature of your bedroom. Okay, so I think that's it. So again, these are other factors. So just, you'll get access to the recording of this. For those on Facebook, recording will be available immediately, just because it records as, it's posted pretty much right after. And then I'll send a recording out within the next few days of this for, for everybody, but especially those who aren't on Facebook, for review. Because again, there's, sleep, it's a challenge doing it on your own, but honestly, sometimes it's a challenge even with, working one-on-one with someone. It's not always easy. It's not like if someone sees me and they've had sleep issues for a number of years, it's not like that first consultation we're gonna, resolve, years worth of sleep problems. Sometimes even months of sleep problems, again, is gonna take, take a good amount of time. So, but all right, so let's open it up for questions. I've done the Zoom to Facebook live stream in the past, and I just pretty much jump back and forth. So I'll spend like 10 minutes, let's say, on Zoom answering questions, 10 minutes going to Facebook. And just keep in mind, I don't have all the answers, but I will try my best. And, the great thing about these too, especially with Zoom, when I do these, is sometimes the participants have, some answers as well, like when people, depending on the question. So it's great to, hold on, I'm having technical difficulties open up the chat. And don't you love when people draw on your PowerPoint? All right. Let's see, the chat is not open. Okay, there we go. Da, 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 da. All right, so we have Stephanie from Singapore. So people, actually, I might have said that already because Elizabeth, I mentioned you. And then Susan from Arkansas. Okay, so Stephanie, will you be covering menopausal, perimenopausal sleep disruptions as well as waking for urination, or is it linked to the other factors you mentioned? Yeah, it's a good question. So, I mean, could be potentially two questions though, like the urination, it's, again, some things are common sense. I probably don't have to tell you to not like, like I'm one that, I have my water here that I'll be sipping on just because I'm doing a presentation. But normally, honestly, I just don't drink a lot of water at night. I do most of my water drinking during the day and then, like in the afternoon. But then after dinner, I stop. Whereas my wife has, water like up until going to bed and has a big glass of water right near her bed. And she doesn't seem like she gets up to go to bed. But again, if that's you and you're getting up to urinate, then maybe, reduce your water intake at night. Again, something that's common sense and probably most people are aware of. But again, you'd be surprised. Sometimes I'll work with someone and they're waking up in the middle of the night to go to the restroom, and I'll ask them, when do you stop drinking water? And they'll again be drinking it right before going to bed, which is great to be hydrated, but again, risk versus benefits. And it's not, I'm not saying not drink water, but do most of it before dinner if you're having problems waking up and going back to sleep. So as far as hormonal issues, there could be a number of different factors. I mean, like for perimenopause, menopause, of course, night sweats, hot flashes. So just keep this in mind. You need healthy adrenals to have healthy sex hormones. So not to say there's not a time and place to take bioidentical hormones, for example, progesterone, estrogen. I'm not against that, and some of my patients do take those, but ideally you want to improve adrenal health. You want to optimize adrenal health, and that will greatly help. And again, there's also natural agents too. So if someone's having problems in that area, things like maca roots, or just depends on where you are. I mean, because it's not just menopause, perimenopause, but also even sometimes cycling women. But there's chaste tree, there's there's a number, wild jam, there's a number of different agents. But again, it's not just about taking supplements. It's big part is improving adrenals, and some of that could tie into taking supplements to improve adrenals. But again, a lifestyle plays a big role in that as well. Carolyn, do people produce less melatonin as they age? Yeah, I mean, as we age, we pretty much produce all of our hormones decrease to some extent, like the melatonin, sex hormones, definitely, as everyone knows. Um, but yeah, so that is a factor as well. But that's also why you want to do as much as you can, to make sure your body, like if you're, I mean, regardless of the age, but especially if you're, in your, 60s, 70s, 80s, and then, just a lot of, like my father, he's, 82, and, I'm pretty sure like right before going to bed, he goes on electronics. So that's, so he has less melatonin because of his age, but again, just being, on the electronics and watching TV right before going to bed. And then again, the dark, I don't know if his room is completely dark, but you want to put everything in your favor when it comes to melatonin production. So Jennifer, does hypothyroidism impact sleep? I mean, thyroid hormone could impact everything. So if someone has overt hypothyroidism, it could be a factor. It's definitely more common I see in my hyperthyroid patients, just the elevated thyroid hormone levels, just again, someone being in a hyper state. And then, some of it also, and again, I can relate because I dealt with hyperthyroidism. Most of I dealt with Graves' disease, back in 2008, 2009. And again, some of it is just, just laying down and everything's quiet and hearing, the palpitations and your heart racing and all that. But yeah, I mean, it's some people that could, but again, a lot of times if someone has hypothyroidism and they have sleep issues, could it be the thyroid, the lower thyroid? Possibly. But again, we need to look, is it also, is it blood sugar? A lot of people with both hypo and hyperthyroidism have adrenal issues. So again, we don't want to just assume that it's it's the thyroid. And many times, honestly, it's not when it's hypo. Usually there's something else. Okay, is 8 hours sleep compulsory for all adults? So you might have asked this before I listed that. So, I mean, 7, 8 hours, I mean, I would say no, not 8 hours exactly. So that's what I was like saying, is that, like, truth, or, is it a myth? And yeah, I wouldn't say everybody needs exactly 8 hours. I mean, 7 hours, a lot of people do fine with. And as I said, in a healthier state, it's not necessarily a good thing to get like 10, 11, 12 hours. At least the research is always changing. Who knows? Maybe next year I'll attend a conference and the research will, show something. Or again, I'll do my own article. It's been a few years since I put together my own article on sleep issues. So, that's when I do my updated research, usually when I put together articles and blog posts. So I'm not sure what it shows, in 2020, but But yeah, so 8 hours, again, I wouldn't say everybody needs 8 hours, but I'd say at least aim for 7 hours. And again, if it's every now and then, like 5, 6 hours, not the end of the world. But if every night it's like 5 hours sleep, 6 hours sleep, I would work on, getting more sleep. And, for some people, it's just a matter of just trying to go to bed earlier, because you might have to get up by a certain time and you're just used to going to bed at, let's say 11, waking up at 5. And, if you're in bed from 11 to 5, you're probably not sleeping 6 hours. Even if you're sleeping okay, you're still, most people aren't going to fall asleep right away, like a minute or two when closing their eyes. So again, you got to account for that as well. All right, so someone here, and I'm going to get to Facebook questions in just a couple of minutes. So doctor, I used a lavender. Some people send their messages private, and and I don't know. Sometimes I think it's an accident because it's nothing that's really secretive. But if it's secret, so I won't name this person's name, but not that it's a big deal. But so she mentioned, doctor, I use a lavender sleep spray to help me with sleep. Can you recommend that to your patients? Um, I mean, so I did mention lavender again. It was towards the end, so you might have asked this before. You might have seen me say it, and just So I mean, you could take lavender, yeah, I guess as a spray. I mean, also a diffuser, or you could, just have lavender with mix it with the carrier oil and rub some, rub some into your body as well. So different application of essential oils. So Parveen, I need to get inflammation under control. Yep, a lot of people do. I get choppy sleep. Okay, so Francis here, you mentioned mattresses, avocado green mattresses, latex. Do you recommend a latex mattress for someone with MCAS, so mast cell activation? Yeah, so I'm familiar with mast cell activations. I mean, if someone has a latex allergy, I would definitely say probably not. So good point, Francis. If someone is, if they have a known allergy to latex, again, I don't know for sure, like it might be a little bit different, actually, but I wouldn't take any chances. What MCAS, I don't know. Good question. I mean, yeah, I mean, mast cell activation syndrome, as you know, since you're asking, I'm sure you know it's quite complex. And just honestly, I don't know of like, as far as like if most people with MCAS, has problems with, reacting to latex. But um, yeah, so you might, if this is a situation, you might actually know the answer and just seeing what I have to say. But I welcome your input if you've done some research. And yeah, so that's yeah, like I said, I know it's there's I forgot the name of the book, but by Dr. Lawrence Afrin on MCAS, and he's like a mast cell activation syndrome expert. And even the experts, if you read his book, he just, you could tell he's, a lot of it's trial and error. All right, so Parveen, I fall asleep but wake up through the night. So yeah, again, when it's wake up throughout the night, high cortisol levels, blood sugar, again, sometimes an infection like stealth infection. Many of you know my chronic Lyme disease story in 2018, diagnosed with chronic Lyme. And so, but who knows how long I had Lyme before I became symptomatic. So I bring this up constantly just because, again, if you asked me a little over 2 years ago, I would not have thought I had Lyme in my body because I didn't, have any symptoms. But, we all are exposed to viruses and bacteria. And again, not that everybody has Lyme disease, um, but anyway, just something to consider if you've done everything else. Like if someone has, if your diet is, eating well, you're blocking out time for stress management, maybe you've done some testing for adrenals and maybe your adrenals were compromised, but you've done things to improve health of adrenals, including stress management and maybe, taking some nutrients and herbs. And, so if you've tried a lot of things I've already mentioned, and even things like unplugging Wi-Fi, avoiding electronics before going to bed, if nothing's helping, sometimes you got to dig deeper. And sometimes things like stealth infections are just, we don't think about those as affecting sleep. We think about infections as causing, fever and pain and, fatigue, and it could definitely result in those symptoms too. But all right, so let's go ahead and see on Facebook. And, I don't know, I did something a little bit unique here as well. There was let me just see something here too. I don't know if it's streaming to my page and my group. So I'm trying to access my group too. Okay, maybe not. Just there was a button where it's okay. So I might just be streaming to my page. Oh, okay. Um, so let's see. So I'm going to Facebook, and then I'll go back to Zoom. So we got Connie from Arkansas with hypothyroidism. Okay, so Joniel, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name, but she mentioned social dancing helped me. Can't do it now though. Oh, as far as relieving stress. Okay. Okay, interesting. Okay, Ruth, yeah, why isn't my brain working? Dr. K's book. All right, cool. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing. Um, all right. Oh, I'm sorry, Ruth. How do you sign up for the Zooms? Just happened to catch on Facebook. Yeah. Yeah, I sent out the, yeah, I should have posted it, I guess, on Facebook too, but but again, you could post questions here as well. I sent out an email to everybody on my email list. If anybody here on Facebook, if you're not on my email list, just visit naturalendocrinesolutions.com, and sign up for like my free guide, for example, and that'll put you on the email list. And so new to hypothyroid, started beta blocker yesterday prior to iodine test. Um, was it the iodine uptake test, I guess, or can I do CBD oil with beta blockers? Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I've had people, again, certain things I'm cautious about saying because of, herb, nutrient, drug interactions, things like that. So I've had patients who have been on CBD oil and on beta blockers, such as propranolol, atenolol, without a problem. But what I would do, a question like that, I would run by a pharmacist, maybe not your medical doctor, because your medical doctor probably doesn't know, but run it by a pharmacist. Questions like that, if you're unsure about, you know, herb, drug, or nutrient drug interactions. I mean, again, if you're on a Q&A like this, and you could ask me, and I'll give an answer. Like I said, I've had other patients. If I've had problems with patients and certain things, I'll also bring it up. But in this case, I don't remember having. It's not like I've had like hundreds of people take. I've had hundreds of people, definitely, if not over 1,000 people on beta blockers. Like all the people I've worked with, I've had a lot of people on beta blockers in the past. Even though I did things naturally myself, but still a lot of my patients take the meds. But I can't say that most of the people with beta blockers took CBD oil. I've had some people, maybe like a dozen or something like that. So it's small, very small sample size. Um, I've had more people take CBD oil, just I can't say most are, on beta blockers and taking CBD oil. So Krista, I use lemon balm for sleeping. Honestly, ever since I started treating myself naturally, I started sleeping better. All right, good deal, good deal. Yeah, I forgot. I don't think I put lemon balm. That's actually something, I'm glad you mentioned that, because for my hyperthyroid patients, that is something, like when I was dealing with Graves, I didn't take lemon balm. I just took bugleweed and motherwort. But if someone is having sleep issues, a lot of times I will say to take lemon balm, and there's also lemon balm tea. So thank you for that. And actually, let me, I forget what Facebook usually, as I go through the questions, I just like everything. So I know that I responded and just acknowledging. I can't do that in Zoom, or else I would do that in Zoom. And again, I'll be getting back to you Zoomers in just a few minutes. All right, so the next question, is it common to have chronic migraines due to hyperthyroidism? I initially had Graves, but now I'm post-surgery hypothyroid. So I don't know if you're still experiencing that, but because again, if you're a hypo, then again, so I don't know about migraines. Headaches, is not uncommon. It's not a classic symptom of hyperthyroidism, but um, but again, it's not uncommon. But yeah, migraines. I mean, not to say that there are people with Graves, hyperthyroidism who have migraines, but not sure if there's really, let's actually, so with that being said, so Krista says, I get chronic migraines for 3 to 6 months and they're gone for a couple of months. I'm thinking it's hormone shifting due to Graves. I mean, it could, I mean, Graves, so yeah, the hyperthyroidism will admittedly affect hormones. Again, I can't say it's something that's common, but I mean, Graves affecting hormones actually is common a lot of times with the sex hormones, but so if it started around the same time, like when someone developing the hyperthyroidism, developed the migraines, and there is, I'm sure there is some type of connection. CBD and melatonin didn't work well. I can't, these emojis blocking my question here. CBD and melatonin didn't really seem to work well for me. Yeah, again, everybody's different. So melatonin, a lot of people doesn't work well. CBD oil, same thing. It's not, it depends on what the sleep oil is. All right. Let's see. So a couple of people are, okay, never mind. There's people chatting with each other, it looks like. So I'll just kind of skip it. Oh, I pronounced your name correctly. Great, great, great. Okay, so Ruth, any brand of bugleweed and motherwort you recommend? Medi-herb looks good. Yeah, that's what I took. I took Medi-herb. A lot of people take Herb Farm because it's available on, like, there's just not a lot of brands of bugleweed, but Herb Farm is one that's readily available. And it's good quality. It's just not high potency, and not everybody needs a high potent bugleweed. But yeah, that's what I took. I actually took Medi-herb, bugleweed, as well as motherwort. And yeah, they don't have lemon balm. So usually when I recommend lemon balm, it is Herb Farm lemon balm. Okay, so Chris, I use Secrets of the Tribe for bugleweed, motherwort, and lemon balm, which I'm not familiar with. Um, but thank you for sharing. All right, so I'm going to go back to Zoom because we're, at least for now, out of questions in the Facebook. All right, so let's see. So Vicky, what if you already use a CPAP machine and still have problems falling asleep and waking up throughout the night? Yeah, I mean CPAP, like if you have sleep apnea, which I've written an article on that, it's not too long ago. I mean, it's a couple of years ago, but I have my articles go back like to 2010. So I think this might be maybe 2018. I don't know, but yeah, it might be other issues other than sleep apnea. So yeah, just again, people could have that's where sometimes it gets challenging because someone could have multiple problems causing sleep issues. Just even one thing I didn't mention, like nutrient deficiencies. I mean, it's important. Nutrients are important for, for everything, for hormone production, for neurotransmitters. So if you're deficient in nutrients, let's say, and then also you have like problems with melatonin production, and then you're stressed out, so you have, high cortisol. So again, these are three different problems, and you might address one or two, but still have sleep issues because there's something else. So CPAP, maybe addressing like sleep apnea, let's say, but there could be other things. If you have like a hidden chronic infection, the CPAP isn't going to do anything for that. Again, stress, if someone's in a state of chronic stress, which a lot of people are in 2020, then again, the CPAP machine might not do the trick. All right, so Maurice, I fall asleep strongly, which is good. So it sounds like you fall asleep pretty quickly, but then wake up after 2 or 3 hours, can't fall back to sleep. So yeah, that's common. That's and Parveen, he says me too. So again, just blood sugar is big. More so hypoglycemia, but even hyperglycemia. And with hyperglycemia, it's not, I mean, I've had this conversation with a patient today who is dealing with insulin resistance. Insulin resistance, it's an inflammatory condition. So just changing your diet oftentimes is not enough. There could be other factors. just other things causing inflammation. Sometimes with hypoglycemia, there could be like food sensitivities as well. And then adrenals, again, adrenal imbalances. I mentioned stealth infections, sometimes even, problems with neurotransmitters. And I don't want to get too complex. Some of you are familiar with methylation and need healthy methylation to have healthy neurotransmitters. So if you have problems with methylation, so again, it could get real complex and just, but those are, and so if you're having a lot of issues, definitely might want to consider, I mean, follow the recommendations here, definitely in this call, but you might want to consider also working with a healthcare practitioner, probably more functional medicine oriented, because if it's a medical doctor, of course, they're going to just give you the medication, which again, sometimes, like I said, sometimes short term might be necessary, um, but yeah, that's usually all they're going to do is do that and not address the cause of the problem. Okay, Stephanie, urinary sleep disruption seem to be more of a male-driven issue. Prostate, does this suggest it's normal or not normal? Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's not. I mean, yeah, maybe it's more in men. I mean, the thing is, most of my patients are women. Just 90% of the people I work with are women. Even though I was one of the lucky men with Graves, most people with thyroid, autoimmune thyroid conditions are women. So yeah, I mean, you're probably right as far as it more common in men, but I mean, it is common in my patients too. And again, most of my patients are women. Um, so, so I wouldn't say it's normal though, even in men because of the prostate. I mean, it's common. Does common mean normal? Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I guess time will tell in my case. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty much hitting the big 5-0 this year, and so far I sleep pretty good throughout the night. Sometimes I wake up to go to the restroom, and sometimes I do not. So just yeah. So far, knock on wood, I think my prostate's okay. But okay. Parveen said I would love to sleep more than 4 hours straight. And Jennifer, yeah, mindset is huge too. When I'm in a steady calm zone, my sleep improves. When I'm overthinking and unsettled, I wake up often at night. Yeah, I mean, that's how, I mean, overall, I do a pretty good job of that. I can't say it never is an issue, but my wife definitely needs to incorporate. Who knows? She might be watching this as as I talk. Sometimes she'll pop up on face. She's not on Zoom, I'm pretty sure, but she might be on Facebook watching this. But again, she could, benefit from, following some of the recommendations just as far as mindset goes, just because again, things seem to bother her more than me. Like when I go to sleep, I try to turn it off at night. It's not always easy. And again, there's definitely, I mean, there's stressors, but, um, just, again, I just, yeah, I'm just, I guess, I don't want to say I'm good, just like have a big ego and say, yeah, I'm great at doing that. Cause again, I'm not perfect, but it's just something I guess I've worked at and just try, just again, it's like Jennifer said, it's mindset. It's, just really playing mind games with yourself and just, um, if you wake up again in the middle of the night also, and you've been in a habit of taking an hour or longer going to sleep, and then you're thinking about that, but I would just try to block that out even and say, just think about, just, think about I mentioned this to someone else. I think it was a patient where I said, just think about the opposite where, even if you're struggling going to sleep and you wake up in the middle of the night, just have that mindset where you've been sleeping, like 8 hours straight for weeks or months. Not to say that's going to automatically get you to go to sleep, but at least, try to take that mindset aspect out of it. All right. So is it all right to work a graveyard shift if you have a history or maybe you still have hyperthyroidism? Yeah. I mean, the problem with working like, let's say a third shift, like working like 11 p.m. to like 7 a.m., just, I mean, if you're doing that consistently, like every night, like if that's your schedule, you could adapt to that. The one of the big problems is a lot of people will work, that shift, and then other other days they work, so let's say maybe, 4 or 5 days per week. Sometimes like it's a nurse who might work 3 days per week, and they're working like, let's say, 7 to 7, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So it's 3 days a week. But then the other 4 nights, they're trying to sleep on a regular schedule, and that really messes up your adrenals. So, yeah, so if, and let alone if you're doing it like 5 days a week and then trying the other 2 nights. So if it's consistent 7 days a week, you probably could get away with it. But if if you're especially like rotating shifts, also like that's another thing too, where like 2 weeks you're working third shift, and then another 2 weeks you're working the first or second shift. I mean, that's really hard to improve your adrenals, restore the health of the adrenals with that type of schedule. All right, so Carrie, but lemon balm is a problem for hypothyroid. Yeah, maybe. I mean, so lemon balm, so some will say it has anti-thyroid properties. I talk about that a little bit too, as saying it has maybe mild, so there, I mentioned a maybe before that because, it has, to me, it's more of a calming effect, like bugleweed without question. Someone with hypothyroidism would not want to take bugleweed. I don't commonly give lemon balm to hypothyroid patients just because there are other things. But again, it doesn't have if it has anti-thyroid properties, I mean, you wouldn't want to take it. I was going to say it has very mild, but even in that case, you wouldn't want to take it. But like I said, I usually don't recommend lemon balm for my hypothyroid patients anyway. But like I said, it's not really the same as bugleweed. All right. So someone had to leave early. So you might be gone now, but thank you for joining us. All right, so Jennifer, turning off TV and electronics an hour before bedtime and reading quiet music, short meditation, and/or warm shower help a lot to go into deeper sleep and sleep longer, and not eating within 2 hours of sleep time. Yeah, no, I agree. That's also something I should have mentioned is eating habits before going to bed. So, I mean, now there are exceptions. There are some people that sometimes that will help them go to bed if they have something before going, something healthy, and that also varies. Some people do better with like like a something higher in protein before going to bed. Some people do better with something like like more complex carbohydrates. But yeah, definitely turn off TV, electronics an hour before going to bed, and then yeah, reading is great. Meditation, she mentioned a warm shower, again a warm bath. And again, yeah, the eating, at least try not eating a few hours before going to bed. So, I usually will stop eating like 6:30, 7 at night. And, again, should go to bed earlier. Usually it's like 10:30 that I go to bed. So if I stop eating at 6:30, it'll be like 4 hours that I don't have a meal before going to bed. All right. So, so Marianne, if on levothyroxine and T4 is high and reverse T3 is low, would this cause sleep issues? Would adding a T3 help with sleep issues? Maybe. I mean, if you have you have a conversion are you saying reverse T3 is low or T3? Okay. I think you accidentally put reverse T3. So T4 is high and T3 is low. So again, that's conversion problems converting T4 to T3. And yeah, yeah, I mean, maybe might help with sleep issues because I mean, a lot of people with conversion problems do have cortisol issues. That most of the conversion takes place in the liver, about I think 60%, and then about 20% in the gut. So, but anyway, yeah, it could be like a adrenal. So it's definitely not going to hurt. Well, I shouldn't say that. It could hurt if you take T3 and you take too much. Like if you take Cytomel and it raises it too much, then can cause then it might not help with the sleep issues. Could even make things worse. But of course, you want to try to correct the sleep issue whenever possible. And all right, so Connie, are there natural solutions for sleep apnea? My CPAP is really exacerbating dry eyes. Hmm. check out, go to naturalendocrinesolutions.com and just type in, you should, I mean, if you type in sleep apnea, you should easily be able to find the article where I discussed that. All right, so Katerine, does drinking herbal tea like chamomile or rosebud tea prior to going to bed help with sleep? I mean, it could. The only thing is, again, the tea, it's like a catch-22. So it does have chamomile, like calming effect, but, again, it's just drinking, liquid before going to bed. I know like in the morning I drink, those in my Facebook group, I actually had a post on Monday, like who drinks hot beverages such as green tea or herbal teas. Green tea, definitely wouldn't want to drink that before going to bed because of the caffeine. But so I drink green. I do drink some green tea, but I love herbal teas. And yeah, if I drink those, when I drink that, I'm careful try not to drink it right before a patient because I might have to take a break and go to the restroom. So at night, yeah, it might help you to fall asleep, but I would probably do something else other than teas right before going to bed because unless you could try it, and then if you're sleeping throughout the night, you could continue with that, but it might cause you to wake up. Okay, so Connie, most men, both my husbands, never had a problem going to sleep. We women never turn the radar off completely. Yeah, so maybe it is a woman thing. Um, yeah, that is possible. So all right, so Nicholas, any recommendations on herbal teas which are gentle but work well? So I mean, if you mean for sleep, again, chamomile was mentioned, and there's also, you could drink lemon balm tea, but again, just the teas, I'm not just at night going to bed, just like I said, trying, I just mentioned as far as trying to avoid the beverages right before going to bed. So I would try everything else, but no, chamomile, so Katerine mentioned chamomile. That would probably be my go-to if I were to take, um, if I were to drink an herbal tea before going to bed. All right, let's see. Da, 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 da. Okay. Yeah, recommend something like Brain Tap and to do deep delta meditation prior to sleep. Um, Cool. Thanks for the recommendation, Ruth. And then also she mentioned blue blocking glasses, which also is a good point. The blue blocking glasses for that. So I put them on when the sun goes down, turn off electronics and Wi-Fi an hour before bed. Yeah, I mean Wi-Fi. Yeah, maybe yeah, it's challenging enough. I'll say this with the Wi-Fi. So we unplug it right. I mean, honestly, I don't even unplug it anymore. I have a 13 and 15-year-old daughter, so they, they unplug it, or my older daughter actually is the one that unplugs it. But, hard enough to, I mean, didn't have as hard of a time, but again, it's, just convincing the whole family just to unplug. They're not necessarily complete. Well, my wife's she's fine with the Wi-Fi, but again, the teenage girls, love their electronics and, um, just, yeah, maybe negotiate to turn it off an hour before and everybody just read a non-Kindle book, I mean, that is good, good advice, real ideal. We should, but even if you're turning off Wi-Fi right, while you're sleeping, it's unplugged, that's still pretty good. But yeah, like, so ideally turn off electronics. Yeah. And if you're, like I said, some households might be more challenging, challenging than others. But um, yeah, and I did, so also, and then Ruth mentioned Brain Tap. So I use something called Heart Math. And again, I won't get into detail here, but I do talk about that on my website. So Heart Math, I will say it measures what's called heart rate variability. So you should have variations in between the heartbeats. And again, this is research based. And I'm not saying most people probably don't need Heart Math. That's just something I use. There is an expense to that. They will be having sales, at least they have for the last number of years around the holiday season. But anyway, visit Natural Endocrine Solutions and type in heart math in the little search box if you want to read that article. Or actually, you might have to type in heart rate variability. You probably will find it if you type in heart math too. But so Jennifer, how about smelling or misting chamomile essential oil instead of tea? Yeah, I guess, so you could do that. And, I mentioned lavender, but yeah. So that would be fine rather than just drinking the chamomile tea. All right. So Katarine, how do we stabilize the TSH, thyroid stimulating hormones? Have normal free T4 and T3, but TSH is out of range. Does that affect sleep? Yeah, it's pituitary hormone, the TSH. Usually that alone, is that elevated or is that depressed? I'm just curious. Obviously, if it's elevated, that's more subclinical hypothyroidism. If it's what hyperthyroidism, the TSH commonly takes a while for the TSH to get to a normal level. Even once free T3, free T4 are normalized, it could take some time. But all right, so Esther, good night. Can using magnesium before bedtime help? Yep. So I did mention magnesium is something that's definitely worth a try. All right, so I'm gonna get ready to wrap this up. Are there any last questions? And hello, Maxine. I see you on Facebook. Popping in late. But to be fair, I didn't announce it. I sent an email blast, and the email blast was today. It was just it was short notice. I was actually thinking about doing this tomorrow night, but decided to do it tonight. And so just sent out the email this morning, and then sent out a reminder like 15 minutes before, and didn't. Yeah, I didn't post on the Facebook group just because last week I was having the live streaming issues, and then someone else, unrelated to what I do, but they were doing a Facebook a Zoom call to Facebook Live yesterday. I saw, and they said that it didn't go through the Facebook Facebook Live. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to advertise this time on Facebook. I'll just do Zoom, and then those who see it on Facebook will show up, and those who don't, they'll get the recording. But speaking of recording, Joanne asked, sorry, I just missed this. Is there going to be a recording? Yeah. So Facebook is automatically, the recording will be done immediately. This I'm recording on Zoom, so I will get this out. Maybe tomorrow. If not, I should have it out on uploaded and out by Friday. Okay, Esther, how to stabilize T4 and T3 is high and TSH is 0. So again, so you have hyperthyroidism. That's classic hyperthyroidism, elevated T4, T3, TSH is 0. Yeah, so again, that's what hyperthyroidism you need to address. Again, that's a very quick answer, a very quick question, but that's even a whole webinar wouldn't address that, because you want to, you could take, like if you took antithyroid meds, of course, that could help, or bugleweed, that could help, but that's neither one of those are addressing the cause of the problem. So you want to, if it's Graves' disease, removing triggers, healing the gut. There's there's a lot to getting, so your first thing is trying to get the numbers under control, and but so you might need to take something anti-thyroid, some anti-thyroid agent, but you also want to do things to address the cause, and that's like a whole different presentation. But there's plenty of information on my website, naturalendocrinesolutions.com. Those who are on Zoom, definitely check out my Facebook group. It's over 1,700 people, and I just started that a little over a month ago, in August. So there's a lot of engagement in that group. And okay, so Maxine, yes, I just saw that, but was too busy and forgot. I will go back and watch the replay, no worries. And then Ruth, thank you. How often do you do this? So, I've been doing, so on, this is, Zoom to Facebook will be random. I'm trying to do Fridays, just like, Facebook. The reason I wouldn't, with Zoom, um, so with Facebook, I could do like, it's a little bit, when StreamYard works, it does seem to be a little bit easier, and I could stream to multiple sources, like my Facebook page. I could stream to my group, and then I could even stream to YouTube. I can't do all that with Zoom. I could just stream to Facebook. But so Friday, like this Friday, I've been trying to do 2 o'clock. The last few Fridays, 2 o'clock. This Friday, I haven't announced it yet, but I'm pretty sure it'll be 4 o'clock on Friday, just because I have an interview that's tentative. I'll say tentatively, even though she agreed to it. But so this Friday at 4 o'clock, it's only going to be on Facebook. Just because to get, I think actually, yeah, I think it's just going to be on Facebook. The interview with Kasha Kynes, who's author of the Epstein-Barr virus solution. So if you want to learn more about Epstein-Barr, then definitely check that out. And then, so Ruth is asking about the Facebook group. So I'm going to include a link to the Facebook group in the comments, because this is actually natural solutions for Graves' disease and Hashimoto's thyroiditis. That's the actual page. There's a difference between a page and a group. So this is, I put in the Facebook group. I put in the comments the link to my Facebook page, and I'll do it in Zoom too if anybody is on Facebook. Actually, I'm sorry, I just sent a private message to someone who sent a private message to me. So let me do this here. Okay, so in Zoom, I put that in there, and Joanne, you are very welcome. Katarina asks, why is taking bugleweed better than lemon balm? I mean, it has more, it's more anti-thyroid. It works better. At least I found it works better, and I think, I mean, there's not a lot of practitioners that work on hyperthyroidism, but yeah. So bugleweed, I've been using bugleweed, and I use lemon balm too. So it's not like I haven't compared the two, but yeah, without question, bugleweed, as far as herbs, it's the best anti-thyroid agent. Now, it doesn't work for everybody, but yeah, that's what I took. That's what a lot of my patients took. So all right, so I am going to call it a night, but again, I'm not going to do this again, the Friday night thing is going to be kind of like a, Facebook, and I'll probably live stream it. I don't know if I'll do it this Friday. I might do it, but also YouTube. So if you're not on Facebook, you might want to just visit my YouTube page. And again, I'm not a huge fan of social media. I know some people are not on Facebook because of censorship, and YouTube because of censorship. But just the fact is that a lot of my tribe, a lot of the people I serve are on those platforms. And that's, so still a lot of my functional medicine friends, they're also not big fans, but they're on it just because people are, again, to reach the people that they serve. And so Facebook, obviously you got to sign up. You could, some people use fake names on Facebook, but then also YouTube, you don't have to. You could just pop in and watch it. So what I'll probably do is, anyway, I could always send out like the link to like the YouTube video so everybody could watch that on, like, for my Friday shows. But I'll have periodically these Zoom to Facebook. So for those who are not on Facebook, again, you could benefit. There's just so much time in the week, so I would love to do a couple of them per week, but I can't right now. Can't make that commitment. But anyway, thank you for thank you for attending. Actually, let's see, another question here. Esther, can you take all three, bugleweed, lemon balm, and motherwort together? Yeah. There's actually formulations like thyroid calming formula, like Herb Farm has one, and there's a few others, or at least one other. that has like a combo formula. So yeah. So thanks for attending, Elizabeth. And Katerin says, thank you. Really appreciate all the sharing. Again, thank you everyone for attending. What's the name? What name is the YouTube channel? So I have a few different ones. So Natural Thyroid Doctor is one. So Natural Thyroid Doctor. And then, so that's the one I'll be live streaming to. I have another one, but I won't be live streaming to the other one. Understandyourtest.com. I could put that. I'll put that in the Zoom chat too. Natural Thyroid Doctor is my YouTube channel. And then, yeah, so, all right. I'm gonna stop the share and wish everybody a wonderful night. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Usually in the past when I do this, for all of you, if anybody wants to say goodbye, you're all muted. Nobody could unmute themselves, but I usually at the end give everybody the chance to unmute themselves, but for some reason it's not letting me. I'm not seeing that feature as far as allowing people to unmute themselves. So, oh, there we go. All right. So if you want to unmute yourself and say goodbye, you could say goodbye. If not, anyway, have a good night, everyone. Thanks for attending. And again, I'll definitely have another one of these in the future. And again, on Friday, like I said, Friday, 4:00 p.m. Eastern time, I will be, right now, unless things change, I'll be doing an interview with Kasia Kynes, author of Epstein-Barr Virus Solution. And all right, well, take care, everyone.
Good night.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.